All right. So Steve Bannon has been all over this. As soon as this broke, this was, I believe, the same day that Elon dropped the Epstein accusations. Bannon advocated for Trump to seize SpaceX.
President Trump tonight should sign an executive order calling for the Defense Production Act to be called in SpaceX and seize SpaceX tonight before midnight. The U.S. government should seize it. If a guy's going to sit there and start making quotes, also, as Stuart Stevens talked back in January, I don't know why we haven't had a full investigation. Look, if you're going to deport illegal aliens, you got to deport illegal aliens. The good go with the good, the goose and the gander. They got to go back to this, as Stuart Stevens talked about, and go through everything about his immigration status. I happen to believe, given the facts that I've been shown, that he's an illegal alien. An illegal alien is going to be deported. Also, his drug use is reported in the New York Times. The drug use in the New York Times. If that's a fact, that ought to be investigated. You can't have a security clearance, Jack Posobiec, as you know.
He's an illegal alien drug addict.
If somebody in your unit had that type of drug, drugs, and they had a security clearance.
We had to send ICE. We were just in time. He was trying to put a chip in a poor guy's brain there when we arrested him. He's performing illegal medical experiments on immigrants. We're actually saving the immigrants by arresting Elon.
What would happen to them, sir?
Well, Steve, remember that Hunter Biden popped positive, I believe, for cocaine on his very first weekend in the Navy Reserve. And even at that time, I don't remember if his father, I think his father was still the vice president at the time. He wasn't president yet, or autopen president yet. And Hunter Biden was summarily separated from the United States Navy over his very first weekend as drilling as a Navy reservist over popping positive.
Also, it should take his security clearance away, and all contracts should be suspended pending that investigation. Also, as I said on the Tim Pool show in Matt Gaetz's office, I think over a year ago, right? That was over a year ago, where I said, hey, he's an agent of influence of the Chinese Communist Party because of his financial relationship in Tesla. That should be fully investigated. President Trump is a bull. Elon Musk is a baby calf.
No loyalty among this crowd.
And now it's time for the good of the country, the republic. Forget MAGA and the Republican Party. This is a national security issue now. It's raised to the level of national security issue of a very unstable individual that's out saying very, I think, dangerous things about the President of the United States. And he has to be investigated, should be investigated immediately. And all contracts associated, all government contracts should be immediately suspended.
Okay, so that gives you a little window into what I'm sure he's not the only one saying that behind the scenes, and that's a preview to some of what they could do to really screw Elon. That's why I say any way you look at this, and the only logic you could put into this play is he did it to win the libs back, but it just doesn't even make sense on that level. That's why I say I blame a lot of this on the drug reports. The Washington Post did a pretty good report on some of what's been going on behind the scenes. Trump called Musk a big-time drug addict in a phone call shortly after their public feud. I will say this. If you look at in the last segment, the Trump plane interview, even now he's being unusually restrained. And I'm not going to jump right to, well, it's because Elon's telling the truth about the Epstein files. I mean, he already made the accusation. What does he have to lose now? But for whatever reason, is it the calm before the storm? Is he going to come down on him like a ton of bricks? It's hard to say, but he's being uncharacteristically restrained, shall we say, at least in public. President Donald Trump was dejected, processing his very public split with the world's richest man. Rattled in the wake of Elon Musk's public attacks and apparent call for his impeachment, Trump worked the phones, debriefing close confidants and casual acquaintances alike. His former ally was, quote, a big-time drug addict Trump said at one point as he tried to make sense of Musk's behavior, according to a person with knowledge of the call, who, like others interviewed for this article, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters. The president, who historically hasn't hesitated to fire off deeply personal, blistering social media posts about others who have insulted him, was more muted regarding Musk than friends and advisors expected. In the aftermath of his Thursday face-off with Musk, he urged those around him not to pour gasoline on the fire, according to two people with knowledge of his behavior. He told Vice President J.D. Vance to be cautious in how he spoke publicly about the Musk situation. In mid-April, Musk and Steve Bissent had gone into the Oval Office to make their respective cases about their preferences for acting IRS commissioner. Trump decided to support Bissent's choice.
Scott Bissent. They must have fucked that up.
I fucked it up actually.
Oh, you added that? Yeah.
Scott because my mind was on Bannon because I had to put that in. Trump decided to support Bissent's choice. Yep, that's Steve. Scott. That disagreement was first reported by the New York Times. After Bissent and Musk exited the Oval Office and began walking down the hallway, the two men started to exchange insults. Steve Bannon said he was told, adding that Bissent brought up Musk's claims that he would uncover more than $1 trillion in wasteful and fraudulent government spending, which Musk had not succeeded at doing. Scott said, "You're a fraud. You're a total fraud," Bannon said in an interview. Musk then rammed his shoulder into Bissent's ribcage like a rugby player, Bannon said, and Bissent hit him back. Multiple people stepped in to break up the scrum as the two men reached the National Security Advisor's office and Musk was shuffled out of the West Wing. Quote, President Trump heard about it and said, "This is too much," Bannon said. Trump on Friday insisted that he had no interest in speaking with Musk, telling CNN and ABC reporters as much in phone calls and also sharing the sentiment with advisors, according to a White House official. He told aides he was considering selling the red Tesla that has been parked outside the White House, a vehicle the White House said he bought at market rate in March. It's funny that they would throw that in. He didn't even give me a discount, the son of a bitch, after everything I did for him. He makes me pay wholesale. After Musk displayed several of his vehicles on the White House lawn. There's hope that there's going to be a reconciliation, said one White House ally close to both Trump and Musk worlds, but it'll never be the same. Oh, that's sad. So this is Steve Bannon recounting that described rather remarkable altercation.
But there is a process. You just can't come in and get everything you want and do it entirely your way with not thinking about people at all. And what Elon did, and I think the president tried to make sure that he had every opportunity. We all want to cut federal spending. His promise and commitment to the president of cutting $1 trillion in federal spending was something he stuck to the end until we found out it was all a fraud. I mean, this is what caused the physical altercation you had in the West Wing right outside the Oval Office between the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, who's a good friend of mine and a very even-handed guy. He and Elon got into a physical altercation, and that's because, number one.
I'm just going to very quickly point out how full of shit everyone in this ecosystem is. From Alex Jones going, "No, Palantir is so small you could drown it in a bathtub. It's really not don't look at Palantir. I'm really dependent on those guys to not wind up in prison." And then you got, look, Scott Bessent was George Soros's golden boy who helped crash the British pound. Look at Steve Bannon, Mr. Nationalist MAGA guy. He's my good friend. I thought they all hate George Soros. They all hate George Soros. This guy is really George Soros's creation. So why are you good friends with him if you feel so strongly about that? These people are all full of shit. It's all a grift. But to continue.
One, people felt that day that Elon might have been on drugs. And number two, Scott called him a fraud to his face and said, look, we're in the middle of a terrible budget fight. You committed to $2 trillion, then you committed to $1 trillion. Now you talk about $160 billion. We don't see where you got anything. And obviously that got under Elon's skin. So I think the president went out of his way to basically give him every opportunity to perform, and it turned out just to be a fiasco. And he turned on the president viciously, and he turned on the president personally.
On the Scott Bessent point, you say that the black eye that Elon had in the Oval Office was actually caused by Bessent punching him? Is that the information you have?
No. That happened. The Scott Bessent physical altercation happened weeks before. That was one of the controversies about the IRS. But this is one of the reasons I think the president said, hey, I think the China briefing where you try to get a top secret briefing on the China war plan, given the fact that he's in business with the CCP. And many people think that he might be an agent of influence of the CCP since he's always promoting the Chinese Communist Party's party line. The Bessent thing happened a couple weeks after that. But look, the black eye, the president said yesterday, he offered the guy some makeup before they had that final little ceremony, and he turned it down. And the president, brought it up a couple of times. It was odd. I have no idea where it came from. I will tell you, I think it looks like the receiving end of a left hook. I'm not sure his little boy, 3-year-old boy, was able to deliver that, but then I'm sure that will come up in one of the drug investigations.
You're not claiming it as a personal victory, but at least it looks like a victory for one kind of understanding of MAGA. The more big government, the more worker.
All right. So this was a great tweet. Elon Musk was beaten up by a 62-year-old Southern gay guy who lives in this.
Yes.
Well deserved. Good thing he never went ahead with that Zuckerberg fight, huh?
Oh my God! Yeah,
they was talking about how it can't even take Scott Bessent. But if you look at this story, this is an administration of crackpots, fools, weirdos, criminals, addicts, and idiots, and that is our greatest hope as a nation. That they just are not going to be able to sustain whatever the hell it is they're trying to do. Now, our worst outcome as a nation is that in spite of all this, they do manage to pull off what they're trying to do. And we have to live with the consequences and spend generations trying to clean up the mess if we are given that time and it doesn't just precipitate and usher in the apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly. But what a ship of fools. What a ship of fools. That's insane. He elbows him in the ribs. Elbowing this gay guy in the ribs is square. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. All that money.
Please clap.